hopefully we will be going live. Plus it records it, and that way I can share this link with everyone else, which would be nice. So it looks like we are now live on YouTube. Hopefully we will be going live. Plus it records it, and that way I can share this link with everyone else, which would be nice. So it looks like we are now live on YouTube. Hopefully we will be going live. Plus it records it, and that way I can share this link with everyone else. All right. So it shows we're going live on YouTube, and it also is, hopefully you can see my iPad. So we are ready to get rolling. So I wanted to go over a couple of questions with you today. We'll look at a couple of different items and try to cover some things. There have been several questions recently that I have heard from students who've taken the test regarding an amortization table. And I've sent a link out several times to many of you regarding the table that's out there. So I just want to kind of go back over this and make sure that everybody is familiar with this. So we're going to go through this real quick here. Let me pull this up. Let's see here, because there was, I want to get this as close to as I can. So let me pull this up here real quick. Here we go. Okay. So I have sent out before to everyone this video that I did a while back, which was on an amortization chart. And I want to go back over this with you because there are there's a couple of questions that are coming right from this table, and it's confusing a lot of people. So and we'll just kind of go through this very quickly, and I want to show you how this works. So you may see a question that really asks you this question here, and it would be let's see if I can type this in. Well, I'll just come, you may see a question that says, what's the difference between a $220,000 loan amortized over 15 years at 5.5% interest versus a 30-year at 6.5%. And they're going to give you this amortization chart right here. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? If anyone can unmute themselves, and that would be great. Just to let me know just for a second, if you want, just that you're able to see the screen okay and hear me okay.
We can hear you, but I don't think we can see the screen.
I can't see the screen right now.
You cannot?
No.
Let me do, oh, I know what's wrong. Can you see it now?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yes, got it.
Okay, thank you. I use another program, so I apologize about that. Thank you. So, I don't know if they're asking the question, what's the difference in the monthly payment, or what's the difference in the savings? So I don't know specifically how they are asking this question. But let's go back and look at this. The way you use the amortization, the table here, is if you can see this 220,000, 15 years and that's an @ sign, 5.5% interest. So if we come over here, this is, and I need to probably do one more thing just so I can write on this, okay? By the way, I'm doing a new coaching program. I use my iPad for everything, and one of the things I'll be doing in the coaching program is showing you how to use. I think maybe let's go back over here. Is how to use the Apple Pencil. Let me move this over here, create a new note, import, because I think it'll be easier if I can draw on this for you. So this would be our 5.5%. See that right there? And this is the 15-year. So when we look at this, we need to look at this number right here. You would basically just go to the 5.15, go over to the number years, and then that's the number you're going to plug in. Now this is $8.18 per 1,000 of the loan. So we need to take 220,000 times 8.18. Okay. And my calculator is right here. Times 220. Well, I'm going to take 220,000 first, and I'm going to divide that by 1,000. Because that means there are 220 of these in here. So 220 times 8.18 gives me a monthly payment of $1,799.60. Now, I don't know, and there is a person on the call with us. If they could type in the chat, because I don't want to mention any, and you could send that as a private chat message to me. I don't know if they're wanting, if you can remember, if they want to know what the difference is between the monthly mortgage payment, or if they're wanting to know what the savings is over the life of the loan. Okay. And I'll calculate it both ways for you. So let's just come over here for right now and put 1,799.60. This is the payment. And again, this is 220,000, 15 years at 5.5%. And hopefully everyone can see how I got that. You just look on the amortization table. There's your 5.5. Go over to the 15-year column, and whatever number is here, you're going to multiply it times per 1,000. So now you don't want to multiply it by 220,000. You want to take the 220,000 and divide it by 1,000 because it's per 1,000. So that's how I got the 220. And then taking 220 times 8.18 equals this number right here. Okay. So let's go to the next one then. I'm just going to, I'm going to erase all of this. So we can start. Whoop. I should have done a little bit at a time. Technology. Must be a bug in the software. Okay, there we go. Now let's go back to the second part of the question. Says right here, versus a 30-year at 6.5%. See that? Still dealing off 220,000. So if we come back here, here's our 6.5%. And this time we're at 30 years. So we need to come down here. And it looks to me like it would be $6.32. So now we're going to take 220 because remember it's per 1,000 and we had a $220,000 loan times 6.32 equals $1,390.40. So I'm going to double check my math. 220 times 6.32 equals 1,390.40. So let's bring that over here. $390.40. So I would just, if they're wanting to know the difference in the payment savings, you would take 1799.60 and subtract 1,390.40, 177, whoops, 1799.60 minus 1390.40, and that gives us $409.20. That would be the monthly payment savings. Now I'm going to double check my math. 1799.60 minus 1390.40, and that gives us 409.20. I'm going to look up here in the chat, and they want to know what the savings is over the life of the loans. Thank you for sharing that with me. So that's going to be real easy to do. Is we're going to then, so that this, everyone understand, hopefully, this is the monthly savings. Now, to figure out over the life of the loan, we basically need to just, first of all, take this 15-year payment, 1,799.60, and we're going to multiply it times 180. Now, how did I get 180? 15 years times 12. And since I've been in real estate so long, I know those numbers just off the top of my head. But 15 years times 12 months in a year is 180. So 180 times 1799.60 equals 323,928. That's what you will pay over the life of this loan. Now, all you do is the same thing over here, except we take the 1390.40 and we're going to multiply it times 360. And again, I just know that because I'm going to take 30 years times 12 months, and that's 360 months. That's how many payments you would have. So here I will take 1390.40 times 360 equals 500,544. And I'm just telling you now, double check your math. 1799.60 times 180, because so many students can make mistakes, including your teacher, by hitting the wrong number, 323,928 and 1390.40 times 360 months is 500,544. Now I would just bring this over and subtract it because they want to know what the savings is. So when we subtract 323,928, I get 176,616 savings over the life of the loan. So everybody with me? This is your savings right here per month between the two. And this would be your savings over the life of the loan right there. 176,616. Now, again, I'm going to double check 544 minus 323,928 is 176,616. That question's been seen recently. I mean, similar to that on the exam. I just want you to know how to use this table. Now, I did hear that, and we're going to work another one of these because I heard from another student who told me that they saw questions similar to this. Let's just say that it's a $170,000 loan for 20 years. And the annual insurance is $2,000. And the semi-annual taxes are $1,200. And this would be a $170,000 loan. We need an interest rate, so we'll just put 5% for 30 years. And this is going to be at 6% interest. Okay, and this would be the same insurance and the same taxes. Now, I don't know if this is how the problem looks. I'm just throwing this in because I did hear from someone that said they wanted to know what the difference in the payment would be, and including it had taxes and insurance included in. Well, the first thing we want to figure out here is there's a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to. The test people love to throw weird scenarios in there, like semi-annual or quarterly or something like that. So we always want to convert to annual. Okay. So, and then if we're figuring on if we want to know a monthly payment, a monthly payment, then we have to divide this annual number by 12, right? In order to equal the monthly payment. So so I'm just going to come back up here, and I want to take 1,200 times 2, which gives me $2,400. Why do I multiply that times 2? Because it's telling me it's semi-annual. Now, if they said quarterly, multiply it times 4, but just read those questions carefully. I've seen these questions enough that's where they trip people up, including me. I mean, especially if you're, let's face it, you're taking this big test and it's nerve-wracking. And, sometimes I remember taking a test one time for the Certified Commercial Investment designation, which is a very challenging examination. And I mean, I had a blackout my mind just went black. I mean, I couldn't, nothing would come to my mind, and it was weird. And I literally had to just kind of stop, take a few deep breaths, and collect my thoughts and get back into the exam. So you can easily miss those. So just remember, we want to get it to annual and then divide it by 12. And in this case, that would be $200, right? 2,400 divided by 12 would be $200 for the taxes. And then the annual insurance is 2,000. So again, we want to divide that by 12. And that gives us 166.67 for insurance. Now, those two added together equals 366.67. This is your taxes and insurance. Sometimes they refer to that as your escrow. Okay. So let's go back to the problem here. 170,000 loan, 20 years, 5% interest. So here's my 5% interest. This is the interest rate, right? And it was 20 years. So I can go right over here and stop right there, $6.60. And we're looking at a $170,000 loan, right? 5%, 20 years. So 170,000 divided by 1,000 equals 170. Now I did that in my head, but I'm going to use my calculator, and that is correct. Now you take this number and you multiply it times 660, 170 times 660. And this gives you a monthly payment. This is your monthly mortgage payment of $1,122. Now, if the problem says something about, so I'm going to take this 1,122 over here. By the way, keep in mind, I'm working these numbers here, okay? So 1,122, let's just come over here to a new. This is your principal and interest. And we have to add this number, our escrow, 366.67. This is taxes and insurance, PITI. You may see them use those initials on the exam. Gives me 1,488.67. I'm double checking. 1,488.67. Okay. Now, remember, this time we're doing 30 years and 6%. So here, I'm going to come back over here, and this time I'm going to do 30 years and 6%. And so I'm going to come all the way over here, and it's $6. So now we're going to take 170 times $6, which is $1,020. Okay. 170 times 6, 1,020. 170 times 6.60 was 1,122. Okay. Just want to double check my math. 1,020. This is our principal and interest. And we need to add the taxes and insurance, 366.67 T and I. So that's PITI. Sometimes you might just see PI, what's principal and interest, but just remember to note that. So 1,020 plus 366.67 equals 1,386.67. So what's the savings that you will have, or the difference? $1,488.67 minus 1,386.67 is $102. Now, I know I could have just worked off the principal and interest since the taxes and insurance were the same. I know that. However, I did that for a reason. I don't know about the question. They could have given you two different scenarios, two different mortgage payments with two different taxes and insurance. So you could have a different taxes and insurance for each scenario. Does that make sense? Hope that does. Again, this is just the monthly savings. And if they ask you what would be the savings over the life of the loan, you would just take your, in this case, we had the first scenario, we had 20 years, the second scenario, 30 years. Remember, 20 times 12 is 240, and 30 times 12 is 360. So, just read the question carefully and just understand that, I gave you the same taxes and insurance, but you could have a different taxes and insurance in either problem. Okay. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to take a quick drink of water. If anybody has a question over that, let me know. Okay, I don't see any. If you're on YouTube, I won't be able to answer your questions. If you type it in the chat box, you can send me an email. I'll go out and take a look here in just a second. Okay, now here's a question that you could see as well. Someone's buying land at $2,100 per acre. Let me use a different color here. So they're buying land at $2,100 per acre. And I have a question very similar to this in your material. He bought 5 acres and 1 square mile. How much, or what did it cost him to buy the land? How much did he pay for the land? Well, and again, I have this same question, although I have a different number for the amount. What is 1 square mile? Remember in chapter 6, a section is 1 mile by 1 mile. And a section also contains 640 acres. So if the buyer purchased 5 acres and 1 square mile, then they actually purchased 5 acres and 640 acres. So in essence, they bought 645 acres. And if you multiply that times $2,100, you would get 645 times 2100 equals 1,354,500. Now I'll double check my math. 645 times 2100 equals 1,354,500. I almost transposed that to 345, and that's why you've always got to double check. And I thought, wait a minute, that doesn't look like 45 because you've got 13545, and I almost missed this 5 just looking at my calculator. and I saw all those numbers. So, you know, you've got to really take your time and double check and make sure you get those correct. But that's in your course material, and that's recently been seen. So what does earnest money look like on the closing statement? Well, earnest money is always a credit to the buyer. Always. You know, if you had, if this couple wanted to buy a home, so they're buyers, and I'm the seller in this situation, and I want $100,000 for my home, and they really want to buy it. I mean, they just love my home and they want to buy it. And so they give the real estate agent $1,000 earnest money. Even if they gave it to me, but in this case, they're giving earnest money to their agent, okay? Because they have a buyer's agent and I have a seller's agent over here. So they give $1,000 earnest money to their agent. And remember, agents have to turn that over immediately to their broker. Florida, my Florida students, it's within 24 hours, but almost every other state, it's immediately. You need to turn that over immediately to your broker. And then the broker has so many banking days to get that into their trust account. In Missouri, we have 10 banking days. Florida, they have 3 banking days. And that 24 hours that the agent has, that burns up one of the days. So then the broker only has 48 hours. But again, and I have students, you know, I'm really excited that we're approved in so many states. And sometimes I'm like, uh, it all starts running together. So I don't want to confuse anybody. They're going to ask you that question on your state portion of the test. So make sure you know that. But I was going to mention we just recently got approved in Hawaii. So I'm excited to start offering the Hawaii courses. Let's all just get our Hawaii license and move over there. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? On a cold, wintry day here in Missouri. So getting back to this question, the buyers gave $1,000 earnest money to their agent. How does that show on the closing statement? Well, here's our closing statement. And this is going to be the buyer's side. And this will be the seller's side. And so there's going to be things on the closing statement like a sales price. There will be a loan. There will be earnest money. There will be things like taxes. And there could also be interest. These are the things they could ask you questions over. Okay. So remember, there's debits and credits for both the buyer and the seller on the closing statement. When I took the test, they used to make you figure all this stuff up, but they're kind of getting away from some of that. And they do want to know, where do these numbers go? So let's just take the sales price. Would that be a debit or a credit to the buyer? Well, it would be a charge or a debit, $100,000. That would also be a credit to the seller. Now, this is the loan, and this could go either way. If it's a new loan for the buyer, let's say they're getting a 90% loan to value ratio. We take that times 0.90. Remember our T problem? And that would give us a $90,000 loan. I'll erase this so it's So I just wanted to throw that 90% LTV. You may see that on the test. Now, earnest money, that would be a credit to the buyer. Notice these two items here. The new loan, this is the buyer's new loan, and this is the earnest money. There's nothing over here for the seller. These are both just on the buyer's side. Okay. So they're going to get credit for this $1,000, but we don't have to post either one of these over here. Now we do have to post if the seller has a $74,000 loan, we have to pay that off. So that would be a debit. So this is the seller's loan. See that? Okay. So that would be a debit. Now let's get down to taxes. And let's just say that I'm going to go over here and say we're closing on August 12th. And the taxes are $892 a year. Now, again, I want you to be very careful because they could throw some kind of semi-annual or quarterly. So you want to make sure that you always divide by, if they give you quarterly, multiply times 4, then divide by 12. So $892 a year. Now, the easiest way for me to do this is I do 892 and divide by 12. That's $74.33 right there. This is monthly. Now I'm going to take 74.33 and I'm going to divide that by 30. Just use a 30-day and that'll give you $2.48. This is daily. Okay. So we're going to close on August 12th, 8/12, and we need to do some kind of proration for the taxes. And they will normally say the seller's responsible for the day of closing or the buyer's responsible for the day of closing. Normally they will say the seller's responsible for the day of closing. So what's the tax proration? And the one thing you have to remember is that taxes are always paid in arrears. So on 12/31, at the end of the year, when you pay your taxes, you're actually paying for the previous year. When I paid my taxes and I paid them on December 31st, I mean, I know you can go over sooner and pay those. And I had some other properties I did pay sooner. But on my home taxes, I'll be honest with you, I waited and I paid it on 12/31. That's when it was due on. And I thought, I'm just going to make sure I get through Christmas and all the other stuff. So when I paid my taxes on December 31st, 2020, I was literally paying for the year 2020 back to 1/1/20, kind of like a hotel. You check in, when you leave, you have to pay your bill. So taxes are always paid in arrears. So if we're closing on August 12th, how much the seller, you can see here that the seller is responsible for January 1st until August 12th, and then the buyer will be responsible for the balance of the year. So we need to figure out, well, it's a little complicated for the title company to try to collect everybody's money and pay everything. So they're just going to collect the money through 8/12 and they're going to debit one party and credit the other party. So this is just how my mother always taught me. Count on your fingers and start with the month of February. February, March, April. I have 3 fingers going on my hands. May, June, July, August. So I have 7 months times 74.33. Whoops. I'm writing at an angle. And then I'm going to have 12 days. We're closing on the 12th times 2.48. Okay. So I already had 248 there. So that's $29.73. And 7 times 74.33 equals 520.31. And when I add those together, I get 550.04. I'm going to double check my math. 7 times 74.33, 520.31, 12 times 2.48 equals 29.76. 29.76, I got that time. 12 times 2.48, 29.76. Well, if we're within a few pennies, we're going to be okay. So I'm just going to add 7 cents or add 3 cents there. Well, let me just 29 plus 520.31, 550.07. Yeah, I was going to put so. Okay. So that's the taxes from January 1 to August 12th. See that? So how's that going to show on the closing statement? Well, we're going to debit the seller. Why are we charging them? Because they lived in the home from January 1st to the day of closing. And we're going to turn around and give a credit to the buyer. And then at the end of the year, the buyer will pay the entire tax bill of $892. So when January or December 31st rolls around, the buyer's going to have to pay $892. But they need to remember that they actually got a credit on the closing statement. Had they not received this credit, they would have had to have brought more money to the closing table. We charge the seller their part right there. See how we did that? So that's normally, that could be a test question right there. Now, the other 2 things that you could see, and I'm looking at the clock and it's like it's almost 5 o'clock, but I want to wrap up here very quickly, is interest. And the interest, if we're, the way they do this, and I'm really, this is probably a whole nother session. And I can see right now, because I had a couple of folks on here and I want to do some Zoom classes this week. Now, tomorrow I have to leave tomorrow afternoon for some meetings. So I'm going to try to do another live stream tomorrow. I don't know what time, but I will do this and I will make sure everybody gets a link to it via email. So be sure and check your email. But you need to know how to calculate the interest on the new loan, which is very easy. And the seller is going to have what we call accrued interest on their existing loan. So since we're closing on the 12th, right up here, the seller is going to have 12 days of interest that they need to that needs to be reported on the closing statement. And the buyer will have what we call prepaid interest. And so we will actually need to figure out what's the interest between the 12th and the 30th. And for the seller, we just need to figure out what's the interest between the 1st and the 12th. Now, why are we going to need to figure that? Because interest is just like taxes. This is the 1st of the month. This is the 30th of the month. When you make your mortgage payment, whether it's due on the 1st, 5th, or whenever, you're actually paying for the previous 30 days, even though you make it on the 1st. So if we're closing on the 12th here, normally what the lender will do is collect prepaid interest from the buyer. So that's going to be a debit. And they will, just so we have a different, they will, the seller's lender will collect interest from the 1st to the 12th. This is the seller's side. Remember, when the seller made their payment on the 1st, they were paying for the previous 30 days. So even though their loan balance says $74,000, they have 12 days of interest that they're going to need to pay for. So we'll need to know, well, what's the interest rate and all of that, and I'll work that for you. The buyer is getting this $90,000, remember 90% LTV. They will normally pay interest from the day of closing to the end of the month. Then their first payment won't be due until the next month. So this is September, right? 9/1, and this is 10/1. So if you're closing on August the 12th, and the lender collects this prepaid interest right here, they've already collected their interest here. So you won't have a payment then for, till October 1st. And when you make October 1st payment, you're paying for the month of September. So, that's why for a buyer, it's called prepaid interest, and it's going from the day of closing till the 30th. But for the seller, they're going from the 1st to the day of closing because that's called accrued interest. Those are probably the only things you could see on the closing statement. Questions that you might see. I mean, we'll go through some of those others. I do want to make note. Now, this is interest. Remember, rent is always paid in advance. So when you make your payment on the 1st day of the month, you're paying for the whole month. And so if there was rent in there, we would have to do some credits, and I'll do that for you as well. I'll work those for you tomorrow, and we'll kind of go a little deeper. Now, I do want to show everybody that might be on the call. Let me look very quickly. I'm going to stop my share just for a second. And I want to show you, well, I sent an email out last night. This email right here. So let me share my screen now again. I can find my share button. They've moved them down at the bottom now. Okay, so I share that, and you should be seeing that. I think now I just need to do the AirPlay. Here we go. I was trying to get this over so I could here there is a video right here. That's not what I wanted to show you. Let me go back over here. This right here, click here to review the questions. I sent that out last night in an email. Click there these are recently seen questions. I would love for you to go over. I want you to go through these questions because these have all kind of recently been seen on the exam. Let's see. Let me try to share that again. Hopefully you can see my iPad now. Can you all see it now? Hopefully you can see it now. In your email I sent out last night, oops, right here. Well, let's see. Rebecca, this has to the live streaming right here where it says click here to review the questions right there. These are some recently seen questions. You can go into those and would encourage you to go through these. I'm going to go through these on the next podcast or then on my live streaming. I'll try to go through those. I'm going to try to do several of these for you, but I would go through these questions here. There's like 19 of them that have recently been seen. I think they would be very good for you to take a look at. Okay. So again, that is in your email I sent out last night. If you can't find that, just let me know and I will send that to you. So I'm going to stop this screen share. And that is, I'm going to take a look to see if we have any questions, and I'm going to go out to YouTube. Okay, thank you there. And let me just check very quickly on YouTube if we have any questions. I do not see any questions there. Oh, I need to go over here. You know what? I think this may have gone to the wrong channel. I can republish it to the correct. It should have gone over here. By the way, I'm only three people away from 1,000 subscribers. So I need you to go out and subscribe. Okay. Let's see. Did that go over live? Yeah, it's going live. Okay, good. So let me jump over here and I can probably see if there are any questions. Just very quickly wanted to make sure. So I don't see any questions. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so. I'm only 3 people away from hitting the 1,000 mark. That's pretty cool. So I'd like to do that. Well, listen, I will send this out to everyone. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Hope this was helpful. Those have been seen on the exam, and I will be doing some more live streaming for you. And just again, I'm always here if you need help. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye.